Morning, everyone. And summer has arrived. So grab it whilst you can. Go for a walk, get out, enjoy it. It may be just for one day. Going, gone. Good morning, Mervyn. We wish long life and we'll dedicate the learning in memory of Ami Bas Aryeh Paul Casimir, Yirmiyahu Chia ben Moshe Eliezer, Shlomo Chia ben Moshe Eliezer, Ben Zion min Yitzchak, Aryeh ben Shimon, Leah Bas Vaiva, Avram Mordechai ben Moshe Katner, as well as Vega Bas Moshe Cohen Leon, Shlomo ben Chaim Silva, Liba Esther Bas Menachem Mendel, Chaya Bas Yeshua Standig. Wish them all long life. So, morning Rachel, good morning Carol, good morning all those that are still joining us. Let me ask you a question, okay? If ever you went for a session with a therapist and you described your life, do you think you would be somebody who would be appreciative or who would be a complainer, right? What type of person are you? Are you a person that's always complaining, that's always negative, always looking at the cup half empty? Or are you a person who's always saying everything's great, it's fantastic? I remember a guy in Stanmore who used to come every Shabbos and he used to say, how are you? And he used to have, all aches and pains. He used to say, fantastic. And in the end, everyone called him Mr. Fantastic. And he even had a couple made with the name Mr. Fantastic because that was his mindset. So the Jews traditionally have been a nation that are not slow on the complaint front, right? You know the story of the waiter in the kosher restaurant, and he goes from table to table, and he goes over to one table and he says, "Can I just ask you something?" And they say, "Sure." He says, "Is anything okay this evening?" So quick are we to complain. So in this week's Torah portion, why am I discussing complaints? Because we really, Bar Midbar, the book of the Numbers, is all about complaints. The Jewish people complain time and again, and whatever God gives them, they are still not happy, right? There's a restlessness within the rank and file. So let me share with you today's complaint. What do most Jews talk about? Okay, now that we're allowed to go out, we're allowed to see our friends and to socialize. What is it that most people like to do? Well, we don't like doing exercise because we're Jewish. We don't really have hobbies because we're Jewish. So the biggest hobby and the thing that people go out and do is eat. That's what the Jewish people do. Okay. The famous story about the waiter. I'll tell you one more Jewish waiter story. There was a guy that kept calling over the waiter in this deli diner in Miami, and he says, waiter, come over here. Calls the waiter, comes over, and he says, "It's hot in here. Put on the air conditioning. Put on the AC." "Yes, sir. Of course, we'll put on the AC." A few seconds later, he calls the waiter over. Waiter, I'm calling you." The waiter comes running over. He says, "Yes, sir." He says, "It's freezing in here. I'm frigid. Can you turn the AC off?" So he turns the AC off. A few seconds later, and you hear a scream, Waiter, it's schwitzing hot in here. Can you turn on the AC?" "Sure, no problem." A few seconds later, the guy on the next table calls over the waiter. He says, "Waiter, I feel so terrible for you. This man is obnoxious. He's driving you mad. How do you put up with it?" The waiter says, it's not him who's driving me mad. It's me who's driving him mad. You see, there is no air conditioning in our restaurant. So very much that's the story of the Jewish people, not with AC, but with food. In this week's parsha, the Jewish people complain. What do they complain about, Mervyn? They complain about the fact that they're not happy with the food, right? It doesn't taste like my grandmother. These portions are too small. No, seriously, what do they complain about? So let's have a look. So they complained about the fact that they are receiving manna. Now, manna was this extraordinary gift, this miraculous food that the Jewish people ate. And what it was that every day they went out, they gathered their portion, they came back, and that was it, right? So they didn't have to sow the seeds and cultivate the land. They didn't have to go and buy the food. The food was just there for them every single day. So what was the complaint? So they say that the complaint was that we want to have meat. We want to have La Fiesta. Why can't we have La Fiesta or El Gaucho, right? And remember El Gaucho, it was kosher for a while in London, and then it closed down. But La Fiesta. So so they say we want meat, and we remember. Listen to this complaint. It's outrageous. This complaint is that we remember the fish that we ate in Egypt. Fish in Egypt? You were slaves in Egypt. Why would you be bringing up the food? Imagine, God forbid, a Holocaust survivor is never going to say, and I remember the soup that I had in the concentration camp. Why would you remember and bring up in your complaint about the fish in Egypt? So Rashi tells us the difference and comes to the rescue in explaining the extraordinary underlying issue here. What was really their complaint? What was really their issue? We're talking about great people. They weren't complaining about the portions. They weren't complaining about the taste. So what was really going on? And he says as follows. He says that the real issue at the core, at the heart of what was going on is, and in fact, they had loads of meat if they wanted to. But the problem was that the manna diet that they were on was very different to what they had been used to before this. You see, when you had the manna was delivered at a different place, a different locale to each family, depending on how they had conducted themselves each day. So let's say that you had a good day, you'd gone to shul, you davened, you gave charity, you were kind, didn't speak Lashon Hara. So that manna was outside your front door. Now, if you had a bad day, you got angry with your spouse, you lied, you cheated, and all the other things, right? Which we won't go into. And therefore, you wake up the next day, and in the distance, you can just make out that there's a pile on the ground, and that's your manna. And you have to go trudging out all the way down to the end of the field, right, to get the manna. Now, that is a tremendously humiliating and shameful experience, because everyone knows that the only reason why your manna is down the end of the driveway or down the end of the field is because you have fallen. You're not the same person that you were. Okay? So with the manna, and this is the point that we want to make this morning, with the manna came responsibility. With the manna, they had to shoulder the responsibilities for their actions, for their reactions, for the repercussions of the way they behaved. To have a life where every single thing that you do is going to have a direct corollary on the way, on what you eat, on the sustenance that you receive, that they felt was too much. It would be a constant reminder of where they were in terms of their growth, in terms of their spiritual journey. They didn't want that. In Egypt, if we think back, as a slave, they know they're going to get the same lousy portion every day, but they know that they're going to get it. There's no strings attached. All they have to do is do the same work. There's nothing being asked of them per se. Everyone has to do the same work. Everyone is expected to turn up every day, the same time, the same place. It's Groundhog Day every day. And although, of course, there is the monotony, right? The boredom, right, that one goes through. The fact is, there was that consistency. There was that certainty. And that is what they had lost. Now they were in God's hands. And God said, what you're going to get every day and where you receive it is dependent not on me, but on you and on your actions and the way that you behave. It's extraordinary. And that was the remarkable lesson of the manna that the Jewish people, or the mixed multitude in particular, struggled with. They didn't want to live a life where there's repercussions every single day. I'm being reminded of what I should be doing and I shouldn't be doing. And why didn't I do that? Why did I do that? I just want to live a hedonistic life. I just want to live a life. Leave me alone. And God says the exact opposite. That's not life. This is life. This is life when we realize that every single thing that we do, friends, it counts. It matters. There are repercussions. There are consequences. The way we behave has a ripple effect in higher worlds and in this world. I was thinking about it before because I've been trying behind the scenes to reach out to our cousins, to reach out to interfaith leaders, to try to get things going again. And what I realize, and what I think is at the core of one of the problems that we have, is that we have a system where we are all reliant on the leaders, and it comes from the top to the bottom. And I think in reality, we have to completely start again. And we have to say to ourselves, if we genuinely want to build a society and a country of Israel where there is that mutual understanding and respect and peace and cooperation, and everyone can jointly fulfill their aspirations and their goals, then it has to be that it starts at the grassroots, and the grassroots drives things forward. Because if once again it's coming from the politicians, then it will be something that will be imposed. It will be where one side loses, one side gains, and it's going to lead to short-term solutions that are never going to be kept and bought into by segments of the community. And therefore, I think to us that are in a diaspora, us that are in Great Britain, of course, and it goes without saying that we have called upon the authorities, the establishment, the police, the politicians to do everything in their power to ensure that we are kept safe. But once we have that, I think the next stage is that we live in Woodside Park, we live in a community wherever we are, where there are non-Jews around, where there are Muslims, where there are Asians, where there are blacks, where there are all Chinese, there are all types of people. And what we have to do is gradually to build those relationships and to have those difficult conversations. And yes, we can agree to disagree. But I think if we have those conversations that very often we choose not to have because we feel it'll be uncomfortable and it's like the elephant in the room, then maybe we can build a society where there is a greater understanding as to the various viewpoints. I'm not asking, and we are not expecting everyone to take our side. And as long as there are sides, we're never going to move forwards. But if it is that we are able to build a society where there is an understanding of the needs and demands and expectations of both nations, of both people, and we have we build a coalition, right, where there is a platform for where everyone can build for a better future together, then hopefully that will be a way to move forwards. But the idea is that we are seeing from here is that Judaism is all about responsibilities. It's about us living up to what is being asked of us. And what is being asked of us is to live full Jewish lives and be that light to the nation. And in that way, please God, in the not too distant future, we will see some peace and an understanding between all people. In the meantime, we carry on with Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even as I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. Memorial prayer. Adonai Lamim Zachawes Nishmois. Vega Bas Moshe Cohen Leon. Shlomo Ben Chaim Silva. Lieber Esther Bas Menachem Mendel. Chaya Bas Yeshua Standig. Shalchu Lilaman Bagan Eden Temenu Chosam Lachem Valarachamim. Yasti Reim Veseisa Kanapam Yolamim. Yes, Adonai Nachlasam Vianuchu B'Shlomish Gavam Benama. Amen. For Shleimer, we're going to say now. Misha Berach Avasen Ramis of Yaakov Moshe Aaron David Shlomo Varech Repes Achelim Bavu Shanim Mispalim Bavu Ram Bizchas HaKadosh Baruch Hu Melech Rachim Aleichem Lachim Alefosam Vishlach Lem Fushim Neshmayim Lechalavim B'Sas Shach Yisrael Refuas HaNefesh Refuas HaGuf Hashtavaz Makarif Amen. Wishing everyone well. Have a great day. Keep safe, keep well, and please God, see you tonight for the Parsha Inspiration, which is at 8:30.